Mr. Frank Nutter, President, ReInsurance Association of America. It's nice to see you again.
Madam Chair, Senator Vitter, thank you for the opportunity to testify. Reinsurance is essentially the insurance of insurance companies, and one of its widely recognized purposes is to allow insurers to transfer natural and man-made catastrophe risk from their books. Insurers are more dependent on the vagaries of climate and weather than any other financial services sector. The industry is at great financial peril if it does not understand global and regional climate impacts, variability, developing scientific assessment of a changing climate. And through its pricing structure, it is also a mechanism for conveying the consequences of decisions about where and how we build and where people live. The industry really needs to be very proactive in dealing with that. Our industry is science-based. Blending the actuarial sciences with the natural sciences helps us with an understanding about climate and its impact on a variety of weather conditions. Insurers see climate primarily through the prism of extreme natural events. I've included a variety of charts and slides in the presentation, but the first one is from Munich Reinsurance showing the rising number of natural catastrophes globally and in the United States. In the 1980s, the average number of natural catastrophes globally was 400 events per year. In recent years, the average is 1,000. Munich Re's analysis suggests that the increase is driven almost entirely by weather-related events. It is indisputable that the recent rise in damages, insured, economic, and uninsured, is heavily influenced by the concentration of people and property in geographically vulnerable areas. Urbanization, increased development, and population shifts have placed more people with destructible assets in the mostly impacted by extreme weather. NOAA's recent State of the Coast report observes that of a population of 313 million, 39% live in coastal shoreline counties and 52% live in watershed counties. NOAA reports there are 49 million housing units in these counties, and that we are going to see a population increase of nearly 10 million people before the next census in 2020. The insured coastal property values along the east and Gulf Coast now totals nearly $10 trillion. The research and consulting firm CoreLogic reports that there are 4.2 million homes along the Gulf Coast and Atlantic Coast exposed to storm surge, the most significant factor in damages associated with Superstorm Sandy. 1 million of these properties are in the category of extreme risk to storm surge. Catastrophe modeling firm AIR estimates the insured value of coastal properties, and this is replacement cost, not market value, is expected to increase at a rate of 7% a year, which means that they would double every decade. I've provided a variety of charts suggesting that thunderstorm, convective storms are also creating significant losses. But severe wind is not the only peril reflecting this pattern. The 2012 U.S. drought alone cut crop yields, reducing the third quarter 2012 GDP by 0.4%, the equivalent of another Superstorm Sandy. The question, of course, is what if the past is not prologue, and in a changing climate, weather, economic, and social trends exacerbate this impact, and that future projected losses from past events reflect rising exposures in areas proven to be at high risk. I've included a chart reflecting past events and what would happen if they occurred in the same place today, given property values and people. In a study on climate change impacts conducted for FEMA by consulting firm AECOM, the firm concluded that the typical 100-year floodplain nationally will grow by 45% and by 55% in coastal counties. Notably in this report, they attribute 70% of the projected growth in the 100-year floodplains to climate change and 30% to expected population growth. I've also included a chart about disaster assistance, declarations that have been made and funded by this Congress, and also a study by Dr. David Cummins suggesting that the average annual future disaster assistance related to storms, weather, and climate events is likely to be $20 billion a year. Currently, the Congress funds FEMA at $1 billion a year for this purpose. I've also included statements from Swiss ReInsurance, which states that climate change has the potential to develop into our planet's greatest environmental challenge for the 21st century. The industry, Swiss Re says, can only be effective in its role if the regulatory and legislative framework establishes the right incentives for emissions reductions and adaptation on a global scale. Munich Re says anthropogenic climate change is believed to contribute to this trend, a jump in catastrophe losses, though its influences vary by peril and in different ways. It is crucially important, Munich Re says, for us as risk managers to find improved solutions for adaptation and mitigation. And lastly, I've cited the Geneva Association, which is a research think tank on insurance economics, which says there's therefore a need for urgent and concerted mitigation action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. We therefore need concerted adaptation as well to avoid the predicted impacts of climate change. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nutter. Mr. Casey Golden, Policy Director, Climate Solutions.